Are you interested in getting into the recycling business in New Jersey? And have maybe heard about there being different classes of recyclable materials and not sure what this means? Or you want to start the process of opening a recycling business in New Jersey, you've heard that an approval is required from the state, and you're not sure what class of approval you'll be required to get? Are you not even sure what any of this means? Well, if so, then this video will be able to answer all of those questions. I'm Doug Ruhlin, Principal Environmental Consultant here at RMA. We've probably helped more businesses get recycling approvals here in New Jersey than anyone else, and we really know the ins and outs of the process. So let's get started by first identifying the different classes of recyclable materials here in New Jersey. All states operate under the federal RCRA regulations, but each state's environmental agency can supplement those regulations with their own state-specific spin. In the case of New Jersey and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, or NJDEP, certain types of recyclable waste materials are broken into 4 categories or classes. The materials in each class are different, and a recyclable material will only exist in one class. These classes are identified as Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D. So what's the difference between these classes? Class A recyclable materials are your standard traditional materials, such as cans, bottles, cardboard, newspaper, etc. These are the materials that municipalities most often are involved with, such as from your curbside pickup of recyclables we all put out weekly. Class B materials are what we might think of as construction materials, such as concrete, asphalt, tree parts and debris, unpainted, untreated wood debris, asphalt shingles, used tires, and non-hazardous petroleum contaminated soil. That means soil tested to contain a very low level of petroleum present in the soil. Bigger stuff, heavier stuff, but still entirely recyclable. Class C is easy if you remember that C is for compost. These materials are mainly things that are composted, usually to make a soil amendment like we might put on our lawns or in our gardens. Things like leaves, grass, and food wastes. And finally, Class D materials are what we normally think of as universal wastes and include used oil, paints, antifreeze, batteries, pesticides, thermostats, electronic waste, and other similar materials. So you can see a material only exists in one class and not in another. And the upshot of all of this is that what you want to recycle at your recycling business has to be specifically identified, applied for, and approved for by the DEP. So for example, if you want to open a Class B recycling facility for tire recycling, then you're going to have to specify that and get approval for that as a Class B recycling facility. If you get it, you'll be approved to recycle tires. Nothing else, just tires. Now, when some people hear this, they say to us, so let's try and get approval to recycle everything. Well, let me tell you, that's not going to fly. I don't think there is any recycling facility in New Jersey that recycles everything, and it's probably not going to be you either. The approval process is too challenging for 1 or 2 materials alone, let alone everything under the sun. So that probably isn't a good idea. But on the other hand, once you've gotten a recycling approval for a certain material from the DEP, it's not exactly a piece of cake to modify that approval to add additional materials. Not impossible, heck, we do it all the time when we're asked, but we don't recommend going to the well too often. Instead, it makes more sense to dream big when seeking approval by adding in a few materials that you might want to recycle down the road once you got started. For example, we regularly tell those interested in a Class B recycling approval for concrete to add in asphalt also, and maybe wood. That's a pretty typical suite of recyclable materials at a Class B facility. and not usually more difficult to get approved than for just concrete alone. And know that you can apply for and receive approval for different classes of recyclable materials. For example, you can get approved as a Class B and Class C recycling facility if you wanted to recycle both Class B and Class C materials at your location, or a Class A and a Class D, and so on. Those are all fine, just know that they make the approval process, already always a challenge, just a bit more challenging. But by all means, it's not impossible. This is why when we get questions from someone interested in going into the recycling business in New Jersey, we always start off by asking them, what do you want to recycle? You need to know, and you need to be specific. And there you go. Hopefully now you are an expert on the different classes of recyclable material in New Jersey and how that determines what category of recycling approval you'll need from the DEP. Now bear in mind, there are different types of recycling approvals beyond just the class distinction themselves, which I cover in another video on the site. So check it out if you want to learn more about the different types of recycling approvals in New Jersey. Still not sure about all this? Or ready to take the next step towards starting a recycling business in New Jersey? Well, I'd first caution you that while you can find more information about recycling in New Jersey from the DEP website, be ready for a challenging experience and some very vague or confusing answers. From our experience, not very helpful at all, but you can certainly give it a try. But this is where we come in. At RMA, we're New Jersey recycling experts and have probably gotten more recycling approvals from the DEP than anyone else. We know the ins and outs of the process and can help chart the smoothest, most approvable course of action for you and your business hopes and dreams. Reach out by phone, email, or book a quick consultation right here on our website. Until then, thanks for watching, and we look forward to working with you to start recycling in New Jersey.